Hey everybody, my name is DeJhane Futrell Boothe, and I'm a graduate student at Virginia State University in the Counselor Education Program. I'm going to be doing an Ed Talk today, and it's going to be about the classroom management techniques that I'll be using in my future career as a school counselor, which will be being relatable and storytelling.
The difference between an average presentation that people zone out of and a great presentation that keeps them engaged is how you convey the information to the audience. A great way to convey the information or key points of your presentation is to use a story. By using a story, preferably an interesting one, you get your point across and you're creating a moment in the presentation that is memorable and easier for the audience to recall later. It's also hopefully going to be something that catches their attention, pulling them into what you are saying. One of the keys here, though, is that it has to be a story you can tell with commitment, and it has to be true. Always be honest with your audience, because if you're not, they will know and you will have lost all credibility. Tip number 6, be relatable. Being relatable is actually one of the most important factors of your delivery. You want to be someone that your audience can relate to, that they would feel comfortable with talking to. Even when giving a talk as an expert on a topic, you want the audience to feel the relation. It helps them mentally engage with your content and remember you and your talk. Most people don't feel comfortable going up and talking to a stern authority figure, and no one wants to listen to someone with no confidence.
When I was in grade school, I really struggled with history. I felt like the classes were never ending information dumps, and the teachers were always pretty boring. There was this one teacher that I specifically remember, and his name was Mr. White. He had the voice from the same as the lady off the movie Monsters Inc. You know, the one that was always like Mike Wazowski, all slow, monotone, and pretty boring. He presented his presentations and his lessons in the same way, slow, monotone, and boring. It was never easy for us to really understand the information or engage with it. He just gave us the information that was required, and that was all. Later in school, I had a different teacher, a different history teacher. His name was Mr. Brown, and he completely changed my perspective of the history class course in general. He was amazing at telling stories, and he always started off his classes by telling us a story. And we were always excited and engaged in his lessons and ready for what was next. While also telling his stories, he was able to relate the lessons back to those stories, and we were able to gain a personal experience and a personal perspective of it, which helped us to understand and engage in the information more. All in all, I feel like Mr. Brown made history enjoyable and fun, and we were still able to learn in the process. Reflecting back now, I realized that Mr. White, if he would have used those same classroom management techniques, such as storytelling and being relatable, like Mr. Brown, who mastered it, maybe he would have been able to have a memorable and enjoyable class. In my future, as a school counselor, I plan to use these skills, these two classroom management skills as well, which will be, of course, storytelling and being relatable. Storytelling is powerful because it helps the audience to grabs the audience's attention, and it helps them to engage with what you're trying to give them in your presentations. Telling a story allows the audience to connect on an emotional level, and then they want to invest in the information after that, and they're invested in what you're saying. Being relatable is also something that is very important because it allows the audience to make personal connections with the material. And with that, they're able to have a deeper understanding and actually stick the information in their mind. Even now, as I've been doing my presentation, I started off by using a story as well as using relatable scenarios to help my audience engage with my message. I plan to use these techniques in my future presentations and lessons because my goal is to help my students to engage and have memorable experiences when I come to tell them what I need to tell them about any material that I'm given at the time. Because at the end of the day, anyone can give you a PowerPoint and read slides and facts. But if the information isn't memorable, if the information isn't enjoyable, then it won't be effective for the most part. In my future, I want to have memorable presentations and I want to have enjoyable presentations for my students. I want to be more like Mr. Brown, more captivating, able to connect and more inspiring, rather than being like Mr. White, who just gave the facts. Thank you.